Y'all, it is October, and that means bands are pushing to get their records out before the fall touring season starts, and that means we are going to get stacked release weekends of new metal albums. Welcome, metalheads. I'm the host of Heavy Metal Philosophy and writer for Metal Digest, JonBarbas. Make sure you stick around to the end of the episode for this week's album art of the week. It's the weekend. That means we got new metal albums, and I'm bringing you my 5 favorite. But as always, before we do the top 5, let's talk about the big album releases this week. And it doesn't get much bigger than this. Testament has a new record called Parabellum, and for my money, Testament is one of those Bay Area thrash bands that doesn't get enough credit for shaping what the genre would be. Of course, the big 4 are the big 4. Right there with them should be Testament. And next up, there's a new album from Frail called Heretics and Lullabies. Now, y'all tell me in the comments, is this the coolest aesthetic happening in doom metal right now? And lastly, before we do the top 5, a new record from Sanguisugabog called Hideous Aftermath. Do you like it brutal and gnarly? I like it brutal and gnarly. Now let's do the top 5. Coming in at number 5, Gone Mage, Cold as Keep in Bitter Heavens, experimental black metal / chiptune music out of Texas. And I have never picked a chiptune band of any sort on this show because I find most of it to be cheesy. It sounds like really bad video game music. Like, take fantasy games, but not a AAA fantasy game, like a really bad C-movie level fantasy game. That's what most chiptune sounds like to me. Not Gone Mage. This sounds really good. It's surprising in a lot of different places. It's dynamic, it's nasty, and it's still musical. The chiptune actually adds something to it instead of taking away. So I really dug it, and you will too if you check it out. Coming in at number 4, All Hell was Sunsetter, black metal out of North Carolina. Now, on first listen, this one sounded to me like a quintessential, albeit really well done, black metal album, but on subsequent listens, there's a lot of subtleties that reveal themselves. The drums really have a lot of accents that groove up the normal, unrelenting, tremolo-picked guitars. There's a lot of punk and thrash beats that really pick things up and give it a lot of lift. The lyrical content here is all about biblical disasters, which mirrors the band's experience during the global pandemic and the flooding of their hometown of Asheville, North Carolina. You will come here for the unrelenting riffs, but you will stay for the depth. Coming in at number 3, Befell, to mourn the living, metalcore out of Pennsylvania. And to me, this really reminds me of the early 2000s metalcore. The metalcore that was inspired by melodic death metal. It sounds to me like a cross between Killswitch Engage and some Children of Bodom. However, it still has that sort of scene kid sound with the catchy choruses, but ultimately really heavy. And I really chalk that up to how organic the guitars sound. It's not a digital sounding record like a lot of modern metalcore, and therefore it punches hard, and I dig it, and you will too if you check it out. Coming in at number 2, Heads for the Dead, Never Ending Night of Terror. This is death metal. These guys are international. They're from all over the place. And when you listen to this, you will understand that they must have brought in the best musicians because yes, it is old school sounding death metal at times. It's nice and grimy, nice and groovy, but there's lots of breaks for very musical sections. There's surprises all over this. If you like horror movies, there's a lot of cinematic sequences. So I love Heads for the Dead. I love their last record. I bought merch the moment that I heard it, and I love the follow-up record. Make sure you check out Heads for the Dead. And hey, before we do number 1, I want to tell y'all about a movie. I was sent an advanced screening of Death Reigns, which is a documentary all about Tennessee Metal Devastation Festival, which is happening this weekend.
The head of unreal that this garbage would be had in our community. This isn't about Christianity, it's about there being a time and a place for all events. This event is a horrible thing for a Christian county to permit. The bands and their lyrics are clearly demonic. Time to call the mayor's office.
In the first few years of this festival, the organizers faced a lot of pushback from the community. We hear these days about the satanic panic of the 80s and 90s, and it sounds quaint, but here in the South, there are places where it never ended. The satanic panic is still going, and this is the sort of thing that the festival organizers of Tennessee Metal Devastation Fest had to deal with. This documentary chronicles their struggles and their triumphs, and more importantly, it also showcases some really great underground metal bands. So if you want to check out the Death Reigns movie, it will be available on DVD this weekend at Tennessee Metal Devastation Fest. And if you can't make it to the festival, then it will be available for streaming. Thunderflix, November 21st. It gets my high recommendation if you like underground extreme metal. Now let's do number one. Coming in at number one, Blindfolded and Led Into the Woods. Great band name. With their new record, the hardest part about being God is that no one believes me. Great album name. This is death metal, kinda, out of New Zealand. And their last record, Rejecting Obliteration, absolutely blew me away. So I came into this one with high expectations, and they exceeded them because there's so many surprises on this one. The guitars, they walk right up to the line of being progressive, then they spit on that line in disgust and walk away to create some hellish textures. The vocals transition seamlessly between death growls and hardcore proclamation statements. The lyrical content, it reads like a deranged stage play about madness and obsession. Remember how I've said for a long time that death metal in general tends to be better more often, but black metal has a higher ceiling because it's capable of being high art? Well, here comes Blindfolded and Led to the Woods going, look at this though. We can be high art. It definitely is. That's why it's number one. And we're not done yet because we still got the Dealer's Choice and Album Art of the Week. Longtime subscribers know the Dealer's Choice segment allows me to break my own rules. And this week I'm picking a record that's probably not metal, definitely not traditional metal, but it does get quite heavy. God Alone, The Beat Test. This is like some math rock, noisecore, post-hardcore sort of thing. See, there's this fashion du jour going on right now with modern metal where they like to talk about genre blending, and I've said it many times on this show, that's nonsense. They're not blending genres, they're switching genres. They're doing R&B verses and pop choruses, and then they do a genty breakdown that's heavy so they can keep their heavy metal street cred. Not God Alone. They don't switch genres. These genres are truly blended. Each song is a surprise of mood and depth and texture and style and groove. There's no clear lines of demarcation between all of the musical components, and yet they still manage to be musical, compelling, catchy, because they're not nerds flexing their composition muscles like, look at what we can do. These are still standalone great songs. It's a really quirky album, but a damn fun one. So you definitely need to check out God Alone. My favorite album art this week came from Extortionist, Stare Into the Seething Wounds, Deathcore out of Idaho. Now, y'all tell me, where does one play Deathcore in Idaho? I don't know. The album rules though. First, let's talk about this art. I dig this one. Of course, I picked the ones that stand out from all the other standard heavy metal album covers, and this one definitely pops when I look at them all together on the screen. It's interesting to me that the cradle is on fire, and yet this child has nothing to look forward to. The mirror's broken, the landscape is a barren wasteland, and there in the sky you have an eye as if God is witnessing all of the despair. That's powerful album art, and like I said, the band rules too, because it sounds like the early deathcore. It's got sort of a beat-down, hardcore sort of vibe to it. It's not whatever deathcore is nowadays. It's old school, hardcore kids playing death metal music. I love it, and you will too if you check it out. And speaking of old school music, there's this young group of kids that are making new metal. Fresh, new metal. I know, right? I was at a Behemoth concert, and as I was leaving the show, they roll up in a flatbed truck and play a new metal concert right there in the streets of Atlanta to everybody that's leaving the concert. The people that dug it stuck around and rocked out in the street, and the people that didn't dig it, they just left. But it was one of the most punk rock things I've ever seen, and they've got a new album out, so I was able to talk to those kids on the show. If you want to see that, just click right here. But most importantly, read philosophy, listen to metal. I love you.